How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing today, man?
I'm, rolling along. Got the jacket on because you're up there in the cold area.
No, I just have a T-shirt underneath, and for some reason, when the AC's chugging, it just gets me chilly when I drink like a half gallon of water. So
Oh, all
I do
right.
this. So I can kind of go.
I see.
Yeah,
I gotta
it's
wear
only
my. I got.
92 outside.
Yeah, I got a new hoodie. I gotta wear. Peter McCormick. He's the What Bitcoin Did podcast host.
Yeah.
Got a. He bought a soccer team in the United Kingdom called Real Bedford, and he's making it the Bitcoin team. So everything's Bitcoin themed. They're paying the players in Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. So I got a Real Bedford hoodie. It's pretty cool. I'll have to put it on.
Yeah, you should wear that, man.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool hoodie. Their logo is a skull and crossbones, and they use for Bedford the B is the Bitcoin B. It's actually pretty cool. So
what is it, like a black flag, skull and crossbones?
Yeah, it's
Nice.
skull and crossbones with the yellow Bitcoin yellow around it. It's cool. It's very cool.
No, I like that.
Yeah, and my kids think I look younger in a hoodie, so they encourage hoodies. So
really, that's always the first thing that worries me. White guys in hoodies somehow.
Dude, yeah, that's like the only outerwear my son wears every single day to school is a hoodie.
Yeah. Like, what's his favorite music?
He's all over the map, man. He likes everything, everything from rap to
Broadway musicals.
Broadway musicals. He actually does like some Broadway.
Nice.
He was in theater. He's not in theater anymore, but he was in theater. He's got an awesome voice. He should stay in theater, but his grandfather that passed away was built and ran the Coconut Grove Theater, which was famous for a long time. And then
the Coconut Grove Playhouse?
Yeah.
The one with Jack. Yeah, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. I didn't know that. And he Glenn Close, Meryl Streep, Denzel Washington, he recruited all of them for shows before they were famous at the Playhouse, and they stayed at his house. So my wife grew up with actors everywhere. So anyway, it's a theater. It's a theater family.
I didn't know that. I guess I should have pegged it with your natural showmanship.
Well, it's not my blood, but my family's all been in theater. My brother acted professionally for a while, so it's the merging of the theatrical families. There you go.
There you go. I like it. No, I used to always run by that, and that's always the big fight in the Grove at all the architectural review board. Everybody's got some idea of what to do with that playhouse, and
it'll end up being fucking condos and.
Well, for those who don't know, it was like built in, I think, the 20s or 30s. And when all the New Yorkers started coming down into Florida and creating things to do. So it's a really historical landmark. All the big stars have been there. It's kind of like the Biltmore and their pool.
Yeah.
And so all that synchronized swimming that was so big in the 30s, that stuff, Ethel Merman maybe or something like it. That was all filmed in, the Biltmore Coral Gables. So there's all this cool stuff from the 30s around here that people are trying to decide how to repurpose or what to do with. But I hope that they do keep that a theater place myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's rotted down so much now they'd have to rebuild it, and it's got historical protection too. So anyway, we're probably boring the shit out of our audience, but it's sad that it's been allowed to kind of just developers have fought. They want to turn it into condos and the whole bit. So we'll see what happens. So
what are you seeing in crypto today, man?
I haven't seen anything in crypto today. I've been working on company shit all day. So let's see what we got in crypto today. Let me share screen. I did notice Bitcoin had a bit of a decline overnight. I had so many MTF alerts coming in.
Yeah, I kind of just, again, stay within a thesis to me of what like Sean was talking about, that we're in that, I guess, week 9-ish of that 20-week sort of maybe accumulation phase area.
Yep.
I'm not worried too much about stuff going up and down a little bit is sort of my read. And then I guess at the end of that 20 weeks, we're sitting there around the end of October. Then it's either does it leg up, or I guess it could leg down too. So for that quick thing that we keep talking about. So I don't stress about this until I see big moves. Yeah. And even like 8% doesn't even really face me.
Well, it's interesting. The weekly, look at that weekly candle down there. It's trying to hang above the 200. That's interesting. Like right on it right now.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think that also there's two, I don't see I see ETH having an event driven trade here. BTC, I don't.
Yeah.
I see BTC is just doing BTC's thing. And I'm not so sure how correlated those two are at the moment, ETH and BTC, because of, all the ETH merge stuff we always talk about. So, I guess what I'm saying is I think when we were looking, talking to Sean, and we were talking about the 20-week sideways accumulation, we were talking about BTC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we were talking
definitely about, that's all he talked. Yeah.
Yeah. The actual range, though, when we looked at what happened off bottom, which was that 80% gain, that had to be ETH, because BTC hasn't had an 80% gain off bottom at 22.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Right.
So we must have been talking about ETH at that moment. So to me, I see with ETH, look, if that accumulation range is 80%, you certainly shouldn't be worrying about 1% drops, I guess, is my point.
Yeah.
And when you see those 15% drops, that's when you want to kind of think about DCAing a little bit in, or buying the dip, or whatever you want to call it, because it's going to stay in that range until the event occurs.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to think of the two a little bit separate right now, in my mind. Of course, I could be completely wrong. So I don't know. What do you think?
I loaded up the ETH chart with the 200-week moving average, and ETH is far above it. But what's it done historically on it? Oh, ETH has gone over and under it all over the place.
Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, again, it's a hard one. I know it's the gold standard thing for all the algorithms to trade on.
It's all that TA stuff that bugs me.
Yeah, but also, like you said, if you're looking at a weekly candle versus a daily candle versus a 3-day candle, that 200-day moving average moves all over the place.
Yeah,
you go above and below the line.
Exactly.
So it's important to also think that through.
Anyway,
what is that, Trading View? What is that in?
Yeah, that's Trading View. That's Bitcoin.
I mean, I feel like, we're in, again, I'm more leaning up than down. But, I think if there's a downward big draft wick spike V thing, that I think it has to come off of some big macro event.
Yeah.
Because I don't see, we got the US midterm elections coming up first week November. We got the ETH merge, September 19th. Anything else in there? I mean, I don't see the big economic catastrophe. I guess we have some war risk on the table, that shit could go crazy, but I'm not so sure that hurts crypto.
Well, I don't know either. I mean, look, I've been reading a lot.
44. Shit.
Yeah, it's a drop. I've been reading Arthur Hayes pieces. He's done two pieces recently on really explaining kind of the fundamentals of what's going on in Europe and Asia related to their currencies, their inflation, their bond situation, and how the U.S. is going to have to bail it out, and how the Fed's going to have to bail them out, because the heightening energy problem there is going to get much worse as winter comes along, and there are some strong concerns there. But his point is, through all of that, is that what's going to happen is the bonds are not going to be paying anything, and people aren't going to go into them because they're not sure. What they're going to go into, he thinks, is riskier investments, and so he thinks that becomes an attraction for Bitcoin and potentially Ethereum, is that the money that doesn't have any place to go because there's nothing paying anything anymore will come over here. So we'll see what happens.
Come over to crypto.
Yeah. As part of it. crypto, gold. He had a whole list in his piece. But
yeah, I he's a smart guy, obviously. I don't know. I mean, to me, if I'm sitting there and well, also, first of all, I don't know when he wrote the article because the Europeans now are raising rates. So as of, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
So they got to keep up because that's why the dollar's strengthened is because it's easy. You know, you're getting more points in the US in dollars than in euros.
Yeah.
So the money's going to move. So they got to get those interest rates up too. But I think they're a little bit more tender on the recession side. So I don't know if that money goes to the US market in equities, you know, say if you're in that situation of no yield, or if it goes into crypto. I mean, that's what I don't know. I guess that's the $2 trillion question.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the links to his articles because I don't have the tabs open anymore. But
no, he's good. I recommend reading his stuff. He's really good.
What's great is his writing is so phenomenal that he really drags you into the minutia and the details of how all of this shit works that I, have a cursory understanding of, that really provides an education. It's fascinating. So these are his pieces. I'll put the links in the show notes because he's just he's pretty fantastic.
Well, I find, I mean, my personal feeling on it is that he really is good at laying the table like that.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I think he makes some pretty broad conclusions at the end that,
sure,
as he's trying to tighten it up, and it's kind of like I always feel like he gets bored with it.
Yeah.
Because he's a smart guy, but it's almost like if he would write one more paragraph for me at the end of his articles that kind of does the linkage between the analysis he puts in and his broad conclusions. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's just constructive. I'm not impugning what he says or how he does it. I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hold on. I'm just loading up my links here for today. One more. All right. Let's see what else we got, Joe. New legislation proposed in the Senate will essentially give the CFTC complete control over crypto. The legislation is meant to take oversight away from the SEC. Debbie Stabenow out of Michigan and John Boozman, Republican out of Arkansas, along with Cory Booker in New Jersey and John Thune, Republican in South Dakota. So bipartisan bill, 2 Dems, 2 Republicans, wants to take complete control away from the SEC and let the CFTC have complete control over crypto.
I think it makes sense, but don't forget, all the enforcement action still comes from the SEC. So it's just that the CFTC will have oversight on, essentially crypto policy. But if you go do a security raise with crypto, you're still going to fall under SEC oversight because they have it on all the security offerings. So I think this is a really good move because it takes away the definition of what a security is from the SEC and allows them just to go after the bad guys.
Right. That makes sense.
It's a really smart way to look at this. Obviously, the devil's in the details, but on the surface, I like it. Yeah.
So Coin Center, I haven't read their analysis yet. I had it open yesterday. I haven't had a chance, but basically they're saying that the tweet I saw about it from them, they're basically in their analysis saying it's good. It's where we want things to head, but there are still some concerns. And so I'll try to go through those this evening and see what else is in here that may be a problem. But, end of the day, it'll be good to see I'd love to see it move to CFTC.
So it's mainly focusing on cryptocurrency exchanges.
That legislation, I guess, does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a different piece of legislation from the CFTC designate legislation, right?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No, see, this is good. So you can see the lobbying's having effect.
Yeah.
And so the hidden lobbyist here is, of course, Wall Street banks that, are in there pushing behind the sort of crypto-focused lobby. And that just is the stuff that cements the deal. When people are like trying to make a decision, and then all of a sudden somebody who's been in there I don't know what's the right word, supporting them forever says, no, we want this too. That pushes shit over the finish line, or the goal line. So that's good.
Yep. I'm trying to find another article I had loaded up because Sean has just brought up something that I had ready to go, which is there is a new stablecoin being deployed via Lightning that Sean is calling the most secure stablecoin introduced to date. I'm not sure I'd go quite that far with it because the mechanisms are kind of interesting on this. And I don't know if this specific article talks about it. Yeah, it's balanced and backed by Bitcoin through inverse perpetual swaps. So essentially, that's what's supposedly going to maintain the peg of the stablecoin. Again, this is not one I've taken a big deep dive in. And if somebody asked me to explain inverse perpetual swaps, it would be a hysterical comedy. But I love seeing this. Like, you know what I mean? Because here's why I love seeing this. Because the maximalists that are opposed to any other token have to start thinking about the fact that excuse me, have to start thinking about the fact that they can't live in the vacuum of Bitcoin as much as they'd really like to, and potentially realize the fact that Bitcoin may not become the currency that they would like it to be, that it's going to be a store of value, and it may or may not become a currency, or it may not be used as a currency, especially if its value keeps going up. People aren't going to use it for a currency. And I think what this does is pushes the ecosystem around Bitcoin into thinking about what else can be done here, right? And then that gives layers like Stacks and Sovereign and DeFi chain the opportunity to make their case that, you know, DeFi should be attached and tied to Bitcoin. And like I've always said on this show and on Mission DeFi, I think that Bitcoin has huge potential if the community will embrace DeFi on Bitcoin. And I think deploying this stable coin kind of pushes that narrative and makes it more possible. It makes it possible that people will use Lightning more. Maybe there are other integrations that can happen between Lightning and the DeFi layers. So I think this is a great thing. I love seeing it. Sean says, the 1x short inverse perpetual swap has been the stable of OGs for years. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, it seems to me that, you know, everything the Bitcoin maxis want is for Bitcoin to be the one true coin.
Yep.
Okay. And now you're at a point where, you know, if everybody's going, everybody else's proof of stake, pretty much, you have the opportunity to be that.
Yeah.
You know, the secure coin.
That's true.
And so I get this, the pegging of it is nice. And I guess inverse perpetual swaps, you know, again, I'm thinking straddle in my head around price, but I'm not sure if inverse means they're pointed in the other direction, like you're shorting below the price or you're going long above it, or is it shorting above the price down or going long below the price, like a regular straddle? That I don't know.
Here's a quick explanation. Inverse perpetual swaps are denominated in fiat currency, but any gain or profit, as well as the margin collateral, are priced in Bitcoin. As such, the user's dollar account incurs so the dollar accounts on this chain incurs unrealized BTC gains if the Bitcoin price drops, or unrealized BTC losses if the Bitcoin price increases, while retaining a stable dollar balance. So I guess the idea is that you're buying this and you maintain a stable fiat value.
Yeah.
And so that's how they're using this to make it a USD stablecoin on Lightning.
Right. So if it goes up or down, you get the returns from the movement in the direction, because half of your position is in that movement direction anyhow, and it balances out. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And to your end, then all of a sudden, I guess what I was going to get to is that I just don't see how BTC gets there without a really strong layer 2 going.
You mean like DeFi?
Yeah, into transactions and DeFi and all of that, because And, again, I'm not an expert on how Lightning fits in with DeFi and all of that, but it just seems to me that you got this core asset that's getting ready, Bitcoin, that's getting ready to be regarded as like the T-bill of crypto, despite having astronomical upside potential, So you have all this upside risk all this upside potential with the lowest risk profile, I would say, of all the crypto. Other than stable coins and, things like that that are holding values, it seems to me like it's an optimal mix for a product, but that why not take that? Because that's like the Fort Knox now of the entire crypto space. Fort Knox being the gold backing up the dollar. Is there 40 trillion in gold sitting in there? I doubt it. but it's the same with BTC. It could be that same function for crypto. So I'm not sure why they don't embrace more of these kind of transaction processing layers or protocol layers, around it. I don't think it, depurifies Bitcoin in what their vision is. I think it augments it. I mean, what do you think?
No, I absolutely do. I think this is, I absolutely do think it provides opportunities to expand what Bitcoin's capable of and how it's thought of and spent. So absolutely. Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
The only thing that hurts it long term is getting stuck on this proof of work energy consumption issue. That's the only thing I think. And again, I think a lot of that is FUD myself, but a lot of people keep saying it too. So, get on the methane field mines, stuff that's not being used, get that energy profile down, because you have to stay proof of work or Bitcoin isn't what Bitcoin is.
Right.
In my mind. So how do you got to solve that energy thing, or at least get the information out that says it's all bullshit better.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to post this article in the notes. They do a great job here of explaining kind of how the swaps work and why it makes sense to back a stable coin based on these. And this actually does make a ton of sense. And they talk about the risks here. And essentially the risks are that, this is happening usually on a centralized exchange, and that, the standard exchange risks, bankruptcy, insolvency, hacks, et cetera. And the other risks they say is an auto deleveraging and funding going negative over an extended period of time on the swaps, I guess. So anyway, I love seeing it. I love seeing innovation in payments and currency in all aspects of Bitcoin. I want to see a thriving DeFi ecosystem around Bitcoin. I have zero problem with that, and I'm excited and hopeful that'll happen. Sean says that, hey, Arthur Hayes has been writing about this for years. So I've only been reading Hayes for a few months, so I guess I better dive into the back issues, because he probably does a great job of explaining it further. But this is a great move. I'm glad to see it. I'm happy to see growth and innovation happening in Bitcoin. So good stuff.
Well, and look, if you use the right ratios, you don't get any contagion risk to the underlying asset. So, right. I don't see how it doesn't make sense at this point.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
I just think, and there's not enough. I don't know. Even if you short attack BTC, you would still be replenishing the stablecoin account as it was going down. So, this is going to be really cool to watch. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a smart move. I love seeing it. So, the folks at my Ethereum wallet, which I think was acquired by MetaMask, have launched a multi-chain crypto wallet to compete with MetaMask, which is interesting. Right now it's launching on Ethereum and Polkadot, but they're going to start adding new chains. It's a browser wallet, right? It's the plugin for the browser, but they claim greater security, et cetera. It's not something I would use right now because they don't hit all the chains that I hit. But once it does, here's the chains currently: Ethereum, Polkadot, Kusama, Polygon, Akala, Moonbeam, BNB Smart Chain, Karura, and Moonriver. And what my Ether wallet's really been known for is being more secure. And so I've got to believe that what they're doing here is probably focused, as they say, on secure and how they're handling it. So glad to see this. I want to see more competition in the wallet space. The more, the merrier, as far as I'm concerned, to keep people on their toes. It also diversifies risk for the whole ecosystem. So really glad to see this, and I'll give it a test run, but it's not something I can use every day yet.
Quick question. So, like, let's say you're using a browser wallet now, you have multiple accounts, or multiple like chains that you go to, and then that wallet just shows what you have on that chain.
Right.
This is going to show it all in one account. You're not going to have to change chains.
No, you'll still have to switch and authorize chains, but it's just like, in MetaMask, where you have to initially authorize it, and then you have to, each protocol you have to authorize. I don't think any of that changes. I think that they're just trying to create something that looks better, functions better, and is more secure than, say, MetaMask, which again is interesting because I'm pretty sure that I thought that MetaMask bought my Ether wallet. If I'm not mistaken, but never hurts to have friendly competition within the company as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, because they were doing a lot of I use Mew a lot with Ledger, and
yeah, Consensus acquired it in February.
Huh. That's going to be interesting. I mean, maybe they're, maybe my Ether wallet, like you said, has more security and it has some stuff that MetaMask can't do. That maybe they're going to be migrating everybody over into this eventually.
Yeah, I don't know. My Ether wallet was not a choice for me because it couldn't interact with the browser. And it was just a wallet, an old school wallet where you could send and receive. So I think what they probably said over at the company is, let's not try to rewrite this thing. Let's create a browser wallet that can interact with DeFi, that shares our, approach to things, but is not the same product. And I'm assuming that means they'll probably keep supporting my Ether wallet, but it really doesn't have a place in the ecosystem anymore if you have any interest in interacting with DeFi. If all you want to do is store ERC20 tokens for Ethereum, then my Ether wallet's great. But if you actually want to interact with shit, you need a browser-based wallet of some kind.
Good point.
Yeah,
really good point. Because you can do some of that from, like, it has a weird thing with Ledger, because you can load up a Ledger thing and be doing stuff out of the My Ether wallet, but then there's also stuff in the Ledger wallet too. So it's kind of clunky, I always thought.
Yeah.
Whereas using Ledger straight up obviously isn't clunky.
Yeah, but the problem with Ledger is they don't support enough protocols directly. So you have to keep using MetaMask or another browser wallet in order to use your Ledger with a lot of DeFi protocols. So that's the problem with the Ledger. So I think we're going to have clunky for a while, but it is what it is. So,
but you're right. Yeah, I do all the DeFi stuff from browser wallets. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I use my Ether wallet and ledgers and things like that for storage, long-term storage. So,
this is a piece on the fact that USDC is rapidly climbing up on USDT. 52.5% of general day-to-day deals through the Ethereum blockchain are done with USDC. That's, DeFi related stuff. USDC's kind of been dominant there. Market cap increased to $55 billion at the end of July from $40 billion at the beginning of the year. I'm trying to see what the overall market cap differences are. Oh yeah, USDT dropped from 80 billion at the start of the year to 65.8 billion. So USDC is getting closer, and the more DeFi grows, the more that's likely to they're likely to overtake it. And then I think the end result becomes that then the centralized exchanges start going from primarily being USDT and shifting more to USDC, right? Because people are going to be coming off of DeFi into exchanges and vice versa using USDC. And I think that's going to push them to pair up more USDC pairs instead of USDT pairs, but who knows? We'll see.
Well, look, I think the broader thing is that, USDC is compliant.
Yeah.
And USDT is, I'm not sure as far as I'm not fudding it at all.
No, I know what you mean.
Because I will buy USDT and don't care about it. But it seems to me that if I was USDT, like, the guys in the Bahamas and Italy and stuff, I'd be trying to figure out my exit situation here.
Right.
And my exit situation is an orderly reduction of USDT until it can be sort of subsumed by USDC. Doesn't mean I don't keep all the money I made over the last 5 years. But I think what everybody wants to see is, not a big gaping hole here in USDT. And so, it's just going to come down to a manageable level where they're comfortably below their asset backing, their collateral bases, because I think you're going to want these types of coins to be over collateralized.
Yeah.
In a sense, so that they can withstand runs. And, you're going to see USDT kind of retreat down to a smaller size one, and USDC, as you said, Brad, taking up the slack or expanding because it's backed by, they BlackRock or Blackstone? I can never remember. Circle. I think they're BlackRock, right?
BlackRock.
Yeah. I mean, how much does BlackRock have under management? I think $9 to $10 trillion. So it could back a stable coin.
Here's an interesting difference, and this is purely about centralized exchanges, right? So I'm looking at these stablecoin rankings, right? The total volume, though, in the last 24 hours, 46.99 billion versus 6.69 billion for USDC. And that's a factor of the trades and the amount of trades that happen on the centralized exchanges, right? So that number is a really critical number. It's one thing, certainly the market cap's important, but it's a really critical number. And if you look down here at BUSD, Binance's stablecoin, it's climbing up at 17.69 billion market cap, but also climbing up in 24-hour volume. So interesting. BUSD is used both on centralized exchanges, Binance and some others, but also is used in the Binance ecosystem, BNB chain. So but so is USDC.
Right. I would read that to just the fact that the blacklisted wallet issue, that it is compliant. A lot of people international don't want to trade with the regulatory compliant stable for various reasons. Also the fact that USDT is out there and it's kind of the stable kind of choice right now.
Yep.
But what I find interesting is, like you said, the volume is significantly lower.
Yeah.
And, it must just be because people are more comfortable with it overseas. I'm not sure. That's a lot of volume for the market cap, which shows that's the dominant one out there.
Absolutely.
But USDC, if USDT is phasing down, let's say, I'd be curious what the trading volume was back when the market cap was 80 billion for USDT, just to see if there's a trend, or if it's just a fixed ratio.
Well, look, I think a lot more. I think it's a factor of more people moving out of centralized exchanges and into DeFi, where USDC dominates. And so I think that's been kind of what's been happening.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. USDT dominates centralized exchanges. USDC, put themselves in a position to dominate the DeFi space. So anyway, it's interesting. But speaking of stable,
is there anybody showing that data? Is there anybody showing volume indexes and stuff or DeFi volume?
No, you can break out by dexes, overall.
I would love to see that USDC ratio in non-centralized.
I think that would be difficult to get to, but certainly you could pull the data, on places like DropsTab and CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. You could climb into this and say, okay, do they show?
God, look at that magic internet money market cap.
Yeah, down to
nada.
Yeah, so markets. This is interesting. USDT has a lot going on PancakeSwap. USDT has a lot going on PancakeSwap.
Yeah,
233 million. I mean, it's nothing compared to its overall total market share. Anyway, speaking of stable coins, Sam Kazemian at Frax has put forth a proposal to the community to essentially disallow Frax being used on the ETH proof of work fork. And that's a really critical thing because the collateralization of all stable coins that have collateralized backing will be a total fucking mess after the fork if the systems don't reject those tokens as redeemable. Because if you have a backing amount for a stable coin and suddenly the number of those stable coins doubles because they're duplicated completely on ETH proof of work, then you're going to have a real problem because your backing won't match what the number of tokens that's out there.
Well, to the point that you brought up, I believe yesterday, on that fork, the ETC, ETH1, ETH2 issue,
Right.
or double spend and people marketing doing that in their Twitter feeds. Now obviously people are watching that. So, I expect more of this from other big protocols. I could, like we talked yesterday, I could see like the Uniswaps or the, Aves or whomever freezing it, at that moment. So, and locking them for a period of time.
Yeah. Eamon said, could you imagine it all going to 50% backing? Yeah, that'd be a frigging nightmare.
Yeah. God.
We'd all
But
collapse.
yeah, I like seeing more of this. I love the community trying to police itself up front. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, Tether also said that they're going to, USDT is also going to only support Ethereum 2.0. So hopefully, people will realize that those strategies of using USDC and USDT on the fork, on the proof of work fork, they better flip those quick, because if they need to get that money out, it's going to be worthless. They're not going to be able to redeem it for something else. They can only swap it for something else. So there's not going to be any USD available. And I'm assuming USDC will do the same thing. They'd be foolish not to.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You don't think like the cybersecurity guys are rolling around now to all these protocols saying, dude, I could see it happening at a low level protocol where somebody's not paying attention.
Yeah.
Like say the Blizzard's finance thing where they weren't watching the price oracle properly. But I think at the top level, the big heavy hitters, I think that, this kind of double spend, well, it's not a double spend really, I don't think, but where all of a sudden everything gets cut in half or doubled. I mean, I got to think that's the first thing that all these geniuses think about.
Yeah.
When they're getting ready to do something like a merge.
Exactly.
It's like, wait, what the, so I think this is kind of one that they've probably gamed out.
You would hope so. You would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Let's see what else we have. We already talked about that. Starbucks is actually CEO of Starbucks is coming out and saying that Web3 is going to become, a significant part of its rewards program. Everything from NFTs to rewards and tokens, etc. So this is definitely a bullish announcement on them, because if they're going to build up their reward system on Web3, I think that you want to talk about an onboarding, like, if they're actually handing people out rewards like NFTs, etc., via the Starbucks app, that's a shit ton of people getting exposure. And that to me is awesome.
You just got to put a wallet in that Starbucks app.
Exactly. And I'm sure that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So it'll come in and look at your wallet beyond just the credit cards and bank account numbers or debit cards. And, maybe you could be paying with fractionalized NFTs. Yeah. Or you could be paying with, maybe there's a star token that comes out, S-Bucks or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that's their stock ticker. But
this is interesting.
Things like that. There's so much you can do here.
So at a company presentation about the future with regards to unique blockchain tokens and NFTs for Starbucks, an employee who only gave the first name Mark and described himself as a technologist. Dude, if you're a technologist,
fuck you, man.
And you're not working in Starbucks. If you're not working in Starbucks IT, you're not a technologist. If you're a barista,
you're a system administrator, dude.
And this is the kind of shit that it's so fucking annoying. Blockchain, whether it's proof of stake or proof of work, is not planet positive. It is going to destroy the planet. And it makes me, as a technologist, and I'm not the only one, very worried about that this company would go in that direction, he said. I don't want to feel this way about Starbucks.
Does he work there?
Well, yeah, he's an employee. He was at an employee presentation. But it's like, dude, what the fuck?
What do you think coffee does, man?
You don't get to call yourself a technologist and then claim that proof of stake and proof of work are the same impact on the planet. It's fucking bullshit, dude. You
just demonstrate that you really don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly, and you're definitely not a technologist, or you haven't bothered to do a speck of research.
Whenever I hear stuff like that, I always think of, okay, so in the Starbucks business model, if you're going to leverage digital currencies or digital assets to build, more brand loyalty, communities, all of that stuff, it seems to me like you're doing it in a much more efficient, energy efficient way than direct mailers and paper cups with logos all over it, trashing, wood stick stirrers, plastic straws. Go down the fucking list, man. There's so many things that they do, and they could do a good job of correcting it. Don't get me wrong. But for this blowhard to get prime real estate in this article saying nonsense, it just shows how friggin' what publication was this in?
Decrypt.
So look, and it's even like a crypto savvy news thing, and they don't fact check it on the fly with the person. So,
let me go. I'll come back to Eamon.
That's it.
Niblet says Mark isn't real. He was invited by the writer to satisfy, invented by the writer to satisfy the editor's need for balance.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. Yeah.
And then Eamon said the only thing that could maintain, he's back on the proof of work, some semblance of value is ETH POW, since it's the only part of the chain that still functions as it should and has real world value, like Ethereum Classic. Wait, Eamon, are you saying you're a proof of work dude? Is that what I'm hearing? Are you disappointed in the proof of stake move? I'd love to get your thoughts on that, dude. We have to chat. And I'm not, like I've said before, I'm not opposed to proof of work, because I actually think that it drives innovation in renewable energy. So from my perspective, it's a positive for the environment, because it drives people with the incentives to actually create cheaper, less costly energy. So,
well, and how much does it cost to print money?
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. How much does it cost to take bales of paper money and move it around, in trucks?
Oh, Eamon said, no, just saying that it would be useful as it is. Absolutely. I get that. Okay.
And think about all the fossil fuel use that goes to move around physical things. So I guess my point is that
nothing's ever fuel used to power banks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd love to know the energy consumption of the 150,000 Bank of America branches around the country.
Yep.
Or however many there are. There's a lot. But to me, I think you always got to compare. You can't just say stuff in isolation.
Yeah.
And then look, if you put big, massive Bitcoin mining facilities on, energy that's, the methane gas spill off, which I think there is stuff in that climate bill that gives tax credits for doing stuff like that.
Nice.
And if you have basically energy that would just be spilling off into the atmosphere instead being used to run large pieces of the Bitcoin network or some other renewables, then how does everybody feel about proof of work? Well, then they're going to say, oh, well, we should use that energy for something else, like, feeding stray kitties or something. It's like, I'm sorry. It's just,
will they feed the ones I feed? Because I feed a bunch.
But my point. It's just, it's all totally the next thing. And when you because everybody's, I'm pro environment, I'm pro climate, I'm not a climate denier, but I believe that, don't waste your ammo on stupid shit like this.
Exactly.
Go talk to the people that are dumping raw chemicals in the stream.
Look, the same people fighting this are the same people that don't want to use nuclear energy. The only real solution to the climate problem. That was interesting. In Arthur's piece the other day, he had a chart because he was talking about the energy problem for, I don't know if it was this one or the next one, but he was talking about the energy problem for Europe. Here it is. I love this chart. Love this chart. Here's the energy return on investment by type.
Yeah.
Look at this. Wind turbine, solar thermal, closed cycle gas turbine, coal, hydro, and look at friggin' nuclear. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I remember looking at this a number of years ago, and the third biggest source of greenhouse gas after, what is it? Transportation obviously is one, but I think it's ground versus air are the two top ones, like airplanes versus, say, cars, basically. The third one is buildings. So I was at these conferences with JLL years ago, and by that I mean 10 years or so. And the big thing, is getting these buildings carbon neutral and, having input, output things on, storage of energy, renewables, recycling, sun, all of it. But a big component of that was these little pebble, potential components, these pebble nuclear reactors.
Yep.
And if you just Google up and look up pebble nuclear reactor, you'll see these are like suitcase-sized things.
Yeah.
That basically, when it's not like fuel rods and stuff, but when they run out of juice, basically, they basically just pull the module out, stick another one in, and then, send that off for storage, which of course is the nuclear dilemma, is that the shit takes, I guess, hundreds of thousands of years. So it has to be stored somewhere safely and in ways. And that's what the environmentalists always hated before, was that part. But I think if you offset that against greenhouse gas emissions, I think you could make an argument that it's a net positive thing. So, so I'm very pro, green nuclear power myself.
Yeah, I would encourage folks that haven't seen it, even if you hate Bill Gates, check out Inside Bill's Brain on Netflix. He talks in that series about his investments in this kinds of nuclear power plants that you were talking about, Joe. And it's pretty fascinating, the tech, how safe it is, how powerful it is, how capable it is. And Canada, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is buying some of these small nuclear plants that will power, 150, 200,000 homes. So good sized communities, but, completely safe, no waste, to contend with, no, possible use as bombing materials or explosive materials. I mean, there's
no meltdown risk.
There's a ton of potential there. So I even if you hate Bill Gates, the investments he's doing in these technologies, these nuclear technologies, are fascinating, and they do a really good summary in this documentary about the nuclear tech. So
yeah,
I personally don't hate Bill Gates. So
no, I mean, but he's a smart guy, and I think people just like to demonize, billionaires in general, because you hear it across the space, and I mean, come on, there is the possibility these guys could be up to ill gains. I mean, I don't know, how do you get $50 billion? It's
well,
not
there you go.
Hanging out in church.
So he's the largest holder of farmland in the United States.
Yeah, I've read some of these guys, these land bankers. I mean, I get it, I guess, but it just seems to look a little, unless you got a purpose for it, than this accumulation. I mean, isn't it carbon credit stuff?
Yeah. Kind of my hope is that what he's going to do is start leasing that to farmers that do sustainable farming, right? That are doing farming that nourishes the land, that they do it. What was that documentary about that? Woody Harrelson. Shit. It'll come back to me. Anyway, that's kind of my hope, because look, he's eradicating diseases around the world. The man is trying to do good things with some of his money, whether or not he's also trying to do other things, I don't know. But I would hope that if you're buying up all that farmland, you take that kind of philanthropic approach and make it mandatory that land use be for sustainable farming. So anyway,
I would love to see, I've always had this model, in my head where, one of the problems with America's landscape, let's say, is this endless development of strip malls and disposable crap that comes off from the city cores out into the country. And then, they run these businesses for 10, 20 years, and then everybody moves on, or it gets run down, and they just leave this piece of shit there.
Yeah.
And they're not made to come clean it up or anything. I'd like to see stuff where, kind of, what do they call it? Brownfield development, where you get more development in the cores to pull people back to the cores and open up these big green spaces out there. Like, I'm just tying this into your farmland in Bill Gates, because, there's an opportunity to lead the world in this type of kind of environmentally sound development, let's put it, where, you could have herds of buffalo running again out on the plains.
Yep.
And all the benefits that had for the prairie land and all of that, you could have, this interaction with nature that makes sense for everybody versus this hodgepodge mess. So I hope he's thinking of things like that too, because if someone has the money to buy up all that empty farmland in the Midwest, why not?
Absolutely.
And turn it into something, not a theme park, but you know what I mean? Some kind of managed trust.
Totally agree. Totally agree. All right, Joe, I'm done. I got nothing else. You got anything else?
Yeah, hold on. I just want to see what Eamon was saying here real quick. Ship it to the cities.
Earlier when you were talking about the methane.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing with electrical power. Everybody's, it can't ship. And one interesting thing that's just on this big infrastructure stuff, I saw somebody talking about diverting big chunks of the Mississippi, 5% of the Mississippi River flow over to the Colorado River Basin to sort of solve that drought problem in Southern California, which is an amazing engineering project. And it's definitely doable. But, like moving methane toward the cities or running power or using things that are national, they're very hard to do because of the inefficiencies of transport.
Right.
But I think the infrastructure can be built for all of this if we just, think more long-term versus short-term and kind of plan, what do we want to be in 2050?
Yeah.
And build that.
Not dead.
So, yeah, not dead, not speaking Chinese, not speaking Russian, all that shit. But
that'd be great. I think those are 3 good goals.
Yeah. But
not
anyhow,
dead, not living in 125-degree heat, and not speaking Russian
or Chinese. Or perhaps in South Florida, living in 12 inches of water all the time.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Anyhow.
All right, man. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching. Eamon, Niblitz, Sean, we love you and appreciate your participation today. We love all of you, by the way. I do. Joe doesn't like to say that, but I say.
Well, I love all the people who comment.
There you go. I love them all. I love them all universally.
I like to learn, man. I like to learn. So
me too.
If people don't comment and talk, I don't learn. So
that's right. That's right. If you like what we're doing, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We know you're listening and watching every day. So if you could just take a few minutes to go give us a little review and a 5-star rating, that would be friggin' awesome. Subscribe, click the little bell on YouTube so you know when new episodes are coming out. And if you have any thoughts, comments, feedback, ideas for guests, you can message me, B05Crypto, B05Crypto on Twitter and Telegram, B05Crypto #2143 on Discord. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much, Joe. Hope you have a great day.
You too, buddy. And thanks, everyone.